Hi everyone, this is Sam with the Wine News in 5. Today I'm going to discuss Hurricane Helene, updates on harvest in Champagne, Bordeaux, Burgundy, Rioja, Chianti and Piedmont, Moët Hennessy's investment in non-alcoholic sparkling, the launch of the VITÄVINO declaration, and the controversy surrounding updates to US dietary guidelines, starting with Hurricane Helene. Last Thursday, September 26th, Hurricane Helene landed in Florida before ripping through North and South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky. The storm has killed over 200 people, it's left millions without power, it's destroyed homes, and it's left people with no running water. According to USA Today, it is the fourth most damaging hurricane in the US since 1950. In relation to wine, the North Carolina wine industry has been hard hit, though the extent of the damage is not yet known. WBTV reported that Grandfather Vineyard and Winery in Banner Elk is closed for the foreseeable future. Biltmore Estate and Winery are closed due to flooding, and we know from Instagram that Plebe Winery, which was the subject of Taylor Green's entry in this year's wine writing competition, was destroyed. Plebe has a GoFundMe page that will be linked in the transcript of this newscast. On to harvest updates. So far, in previous editions of this newscast, I've mentioned the start of harvest in Germany, Austria, Languedoc, Loire, Greece, Sicily, Hungary, all of the US, and the Veneto. On September 20th, JaneAnson.com put out a report on Bordeaux, where at the time of her writing, the region was still early in the red wine harvest. The harvest was late this year, and yields are projected to be down 16% compared with average, with AOC Bordeaux red production hitting a historic low. Harvest in Burgundy is well underway. In an article released on September 29th, Rob Report cites a September 9th start for Chardonnay at Prosper Mofo. Tom Hewson reports for Decanter on October 3rd on Champagne's very challenging vintage. I subsequently went trawling through Instagram and found that Paul Dethune started harvest on September 16th, Francis Orban on September 18th, and Christophe Mignon on September 20th. So I think it's fair to say that harvest started mid-September. The drinks business put out a report yesterday detailing the start of harvest in Rioja, with Bodegas Son Sierra beginning on September 17th. Miningers reported that many producers were rushing to harvest ahead of the massive rains that hit Rioja September 21st and 22nd, and that harvest is still ongoing in the region. Chianti harvest is in progress, with producer Rocca de Montegrossi starting on September 15th. Piedmont is underway with whites and earlier reds like Dolcetto, but I haven't heard or seen anything about Nebbiolo yet. On to Moët Hennessy's investment in non-alcoholic sparkling. This week, luxury goods giant LVMH bought a minority stake in the non-alcoholic sparkling wine company French Bloom. Philippe Schaus, CEO of LVMH's wine and spirits division, was quoted in the press release as saying, "This investment aligns with Moët Hennessy's key strategic initiatives, demonstrating our commitment to offering high-quality, alcohol-free choices to consumers who moderate their alcohol intake." This is the first investment LVMH has made in the non-alcoholic drinks category, which indicates to me that they are betting on the continued rise of the category. On to the launch of the VITÄVINO declaration in Europe. With the World Health Organization's no safe claim levels against alcohol in January 2023, alongside already decreasing wine consumption and increasing climate pressures, there have been many winery closures, sales, layoffs, and bankruptcies that have occurred in the last 2 years. European countries, which produced 61% of the world's wine in 2023, according to the OIV, have been particularly hard hit. And in an effort to counter negative claims and promote wine culture and heritage, wine's role in rural economies, moderate wine consumption as part of a healthy and balanced lifestyle, and the right to enjoy wine in moderation, a counter campaign is being promoted. It's being promoted by Comité Européen des Entreprises Vin, CEEV, Confédération Européenne des Vignerons Indépendants, CEVI, Copa Cogeca, and European Federation of Origin Wines, EFOW. The campaign launched in Rome on October 1st and is called the VITÄVINO Declaration. It was immediately signed by all agricultural sector representatives, as well as the Italian Minister of Agriculture, Francesco Lollobrigida. National events are planned to launch the campaign in Austria, France, Germany, Portugal, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Spain. In addition to political representatives, the campaign invites wine enthusiasts, industry professionals, and political representatives to sign. The hope is that this declaration will help to defend wine's place in society and its important socioeconomic role and prevent against unfair legal frameworks, advertising bans, restrictive fiscal policies, and additional health warning labels, which make life harder for growers and winemakers. I, to my utter amazement, have managed to be the first person in Oregon to sign. Finally, updates to US dietary guidelines. I covered a bit of this back in May, but seeing as that was a while ago and things have progressed, I'm going to start from the beginning. The US government is due to update dietary guidelines in 2025. The US Department of Agriculture, the USDA, and the US Department of Health and Human Services, the HHS, are tasked with writing these guidelines. The guidelines are subject to federal oversight by way of the Consolidated Appropriations Act and the National Nutrition Monitoring Act, which in essence require that they be based on scientific evidence. But when the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023 was published, it was found that the last time the dietary guidelines were written, in 2020, the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, the DGAC, hadn't undertaken an alcohol review and had only answered a single research question in relation to the relationship between alcohol and all-cause mortality. This was deemed as an oversight, and Congress allocated $1.3 million to the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, NASEM, to study the relationship between alcohol consumption and cancer, obesity, heart disease, and all-cause mortality. They did this so that the USDA and the HHS would have third-party research to use in structuring the 2025 guidelines. Meanwhile, the HHS's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, delegated research on alcohol and health to the Interagency Coordinating Committee on the Prevention of Underage Drinking, the ICCPUD, which they, in collaboration with the USDA, plan to use instead of the concurrently conducted NASEM research. The U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability obviously requested documents and a briefing related to ICCPUD's parallel study on the 4th of April this year. There's been an ensuing back and forth for the last 6 months in which the USDA and HHS have failed to provide adequate documentation. So on September 30th, Chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, James Comer, issued subpoenas for the documentation. I don't know where this will go, but I'm really hoping that the research being conducted by the ICCPUD is not used. As Laura Catena has outlined, 2 members of the ICCPUD subcommittee belong to the 2023 Canadian research team that proposed changing Canada's low-risk drinking guidelines, but they ultimately failed to do so because medical researchers and scientists found they had used faulty methodology and utilized their own research to make recommendations. Further, the research being undertaken by the ICCPUD does not specifically include the cardiovascular effects of alcohol, which seems like an oversight. If you feel like getting hot under the collar, I really encourage you to go read Comer's letter to the USDA. I'll link that in the transcript. That's all for this episode of Wine News. If you enjoy this newscast and you'd like to see it continue, please subscribe to jancesrobinson.com. And if you have breaking news in your area, please email me at news@jancesrobinson.com. Thanks.